All right, we'll go ahead and call the Monday, November the 22nd, 2010 Public Safety Committee to order. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion has carried. First on the agenda is the Correctional Work Center report. How you doing now?
All right, how y'all doing? The first page is the, what we call a yearly activity report. And you see everything is doing pretty good. Our programs starting to increase to significant levels. So we introduced some new programs, so that's why you see that line item increasing. GED, we have a GED testing coming up at the end of the month. I think it's 20 inmates being tested. GED test.
You jumped up the population last month, didn't you?
Yes. This time of year, you start seeing that population increase slowly but surely.
It's because they want to get their GED, right?
That's what it is.
Okay.
Any questions?
Make any questions of the superintendent? Hearing or seeing none, once you get ready, I'll entertain a motion.
One quick question on this first list here. You got Taurus car. Exactly what are you talking about? Transports that you did, or?
Right, and they also use that for when they go to classes, in services. Or
That's just how many times it was logged as being used? Or
Miles.
what?
that's the miles.
Miles.
He's only logged in 2 miles in August.
Yeah, that's what was telling me.
You really use very much at all.
Any more questions? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried. Anything else?
No. So we have anybody wants to come by, we're doing a little Christmas thing for some of the inmates, kids that participate in a lot of programs during the year, so got a lot of toys and stuff we'll be getting for them. That's going to be on the 3rd of December. Come by and take a look at that.
One question on the state litter. How much, we're allocated so much of a fiscal year on that, aren't we?
Right.
Okay, and where do we stand on that now? You spread it out throughout the whole year pretty much, or do you, how do you decide what road you're going on when? Let's put it that way.
Right now, some of these roads, I know one of this is covered under the grant, which is covered under solid waste. So they cover that.
Okay.
The main thing with that is, they just use the inmates to do the labor, but as far as how they actually pick the roads and all that, solid waste.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Sheriff's Department report.
Good evening.
How you doing now?
I want to thank everybody for coming out this week.
Appreciate the tour.
It's been a while since y'all been out, so hopefully you learned a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, we have no new budget amendments tonight, which is nice. Nothing to argue about there. And what you're getting is just our normal update on the budget report. And as usual, we're still ahead in our overtime and all the various categories that go along with that. And we're still kind of ahead of the curve on that one, so we're still planning on being ahead of schedule by the time we've seen the budget year.
Okay.
Other than that, that's really about all we've got tonight. At least that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions on the report?
Is the first one jail?
Yeah, no, 54110, that's the Sheriff's Department, and 54210 is the jail.
Was the uniforms, I guess, with the new sheriff coming in and a lot of new positions and whatnot, is that why the uniforms, y'all are down to second page.
They actually
That's-
encumber some of those with like a blanket purchase order.
Okay.
And so it looks like we've spent those
Okay.
funds, but we have not spent those funds yet. They've just been encumbered so that they issue a blanket PO to the vendor.
Okay.
And they encumber the money, but then
money's still
the
there.
actual spent, under the spent is what actually has been spent. So it does kind of throw off the percent remaining a little bit on the report.
Yeah, we hadn't,
Been blown.
yeah, we hadn't.
Just checking.
We
We're
haven't
working
heard that
on it,
many
but not
people or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what the deal was. I do like the way y'all have it where we can see the percentage of
Mhm.
what's left. That's really
It kind of makes it handy because you're able to, you know, as you roll through the year and month to month, you should know kind of about where you're at percentage-wise. And, you know, some categories we're way ahead on, some we've expended quite a bit. But for the majority of it, we're going to end up coming in way under budget, we hope.
That's the hope.
On the medical, okay, I found it here. We usually run, well, in years past, we usually run pretty high. I think Dr. Rudd that program is working pretty good.
His contract comes up at the end of this year,
Mhm.
May or June.
Does it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's under 54, 210, 399. Yeah. And the reason that says 2.26% is because they go ahead and encumber that entire amount for the contract. And then the remaining balance that's left over is when we get reimbursed from the state for some medical cost, and then we also get other monies donated.
Board bill.
Our board bill, when that comes back in,
Yeah.
things like that, so.
Yeah, it takes a while for the state to send us back, like for our state inmates who had to go to the hospital and all that. They'll pick up a portion of it. It takes about 2-3 months
Glad to come back.
for us to come and get that back.
Yeah, on our maintenance and repairs to the building,
Mhm.
I know you've been doing a lot. Are we gonna, we'll probably see later on areas of savings. You'll be coming in with the budget amendments to counteract this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how.
Yeah, I'm kind of wanting to get to pretty much the end of this calendar year,
Mhm.
and then, because we've got a certain amount of money we've still got left, and we're starting to go ahead and we're going to expend the rest of those funds. We have a lot of bids now currently coming in to give more accurate details to what it is we're going to need. And we've also been still brainstorming on how we're going to fix things most cost effectively. Then, when I get to that point, we're hoping that in January you're going to see some amendments come through where we're going to want to start shuffling some money around. Also have a better idea of exactly how far ahead we will be, more accurate. Because we'll be 6 months through the budget at that point, and I have a really good handle where we're going to be.
Be on the downhill slide.
Because we should, you know, you'll have your comp time buyouts and all that'll be done. You know, because they'll be buying out their comp for Christmas and stuff like that. So.
Okay. To help the local sales tax, right?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, get it back. Well, and also one thing, real quick, going to about the cutting out the coffee and different things like that we did cut out. It'll also help out the bottom line because
Yeah,
the
all that's starting to
inmates,
add
when
up.
we're no longer providing it, so that means they've got to buy it off commissary. If they buy it off commissary, if we get a cut, the county goes back into the general fund, a cut from when they buy it off commissary. So we're saving money and we're also making more money.
I got a question on that commissary. Do you bid that out or is just a permanent vendor for that?
It's,
No, it's a bid on the
yeah, it's a
contract.
bid.
Yeah.
Do you
We're
bid
working.
it out in-house or through purchasing or?
It's, the way it's always been done, it was bid out several years ago, and they kind of have their contract kind of gives them the option. It just automatically renews unless we tell them otherwise.
How many vendors do we have for that bid on that?
Well, actually, there's no one really been bidding on it since they initially did it. It used to be Swanson's, and now it's Keith.
Keith, yeah. They've been there for 7 years.
Swanson, they gave back in the day, I think it was like 2002, and I remember because I was in detention at the time. The former administration got upset with them and gave them their 30-day notice, and then signed a contract with Keith, which is automatically renewing. So every
3 years.
2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, it just automatically renews unless we give them a notice to say, you know.
So we do have an option of that 30 days on.
Yeah, 30 days, 60 days, I don't know exactly.
Their contract's a 90-day.
Is it 90 day?
Right,
90 day.
yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And we're looking at taking a look at that as well. So,
And are they doing a good job?
Yeah, they seem to be doing a good job. We've got a couple of different things going on with, some money being owed, and then, but we're taking a look at some of these other vendors where we may be able to get a bigger cut. Where we could get a bigger cut back to the county, because it all goes back into the general fund.
Mhm.
So that's why we're gonna take a look at, all this, and we're also looking at the vendors for the phone service. We've kind of talked to several people and, going at different routes. We think we found this one company that, of course, naturally we'll put it out for bid. Hopefully they get it, but it would really make the county a lot of money and save the inmates some money, and their services that they provide would be awesome.
On this 5410 or 54210707, the building improvements at 275,000. That's
Yes.
Didn't y'all have that earmarked for something in y'all's improvement? Wasn't that?
Yes, actually, come to find out, whenever we first started looking at different monies, that was earmarked for the camera system.
Okay.
For the updated camera system. Now, we started kind of using just a little bit of it to do like the patio, when we stood out front of the patio, pushing that out. I think it's going to cost us roughly about $5,000 to $8,000 to push the glass out and all that to encompass that into office space. So we were going to use that money and try to figure out, how we can come under budget with the camera system so we could do that, so we can get a little more office space.
I just remember y'all stating on the tour of the jail that you had $275,000. Just making sure that was that
that's it, and it was
275.
allocated for the camera system,
Okay.
to updating it, getting it back working.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to approve the report.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You went around?
Yeah, I'll go around.
All right. County Fire Rescue Department.
Give them back at the end of the night.
Yeah. God, shut it.
We're trying to save.
The jail's wife, he's got little kids, and he's got to use them, and they lock themselves in the way the doors are. They use that little pin, and they lock themselves in that. Thank you, sir.
How long got one?
Everybody got one?
One extra.
First sheet is just my report, and basically the only thing that I want to point out there, I guess, is just we just spend a lot of time teaching the firefighter rookie class at a Kittrell training facility. We've got, I think, 5 more classes to go and 1 full Saturday, and that should wind that up.
How many hours was that, 2 times a week?
Whereas we've been doing it Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 6 to 10, and then had 3 Saturdays, 8 to 5.
Is that right?
Whereas total works out about a total 80 hours. The state only requires 64, but we put them through 80. That way, when they go to the fire academy, we feel pretty confident that they're prepared for that weekend of training.
How many people you got in there?
20.
20. They're all local.
Yes, well, they're all Rutherford County firefighters. The Amble is also putting on class on Thursdays, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. I think they have they had 15 in theirs.
Could be close to huge.
Next sheet is the NBA report that we've run to the county, and the average has been running about 7.5 minutes, which is, dropped from about 15. And this month it averaged out about 6.6 minutes, so it's even dropped some more. Of course, to the right shows the different rescue units that run that call.
I know when Commissioner Pease, over here, right his area, the response time was what, 17 minutes before, now it's,
Well, you're coming from
You got down to 8 minutes?
1504 West College Street all the way out to Kittrell area. So, I mean, their response time is a lot of times 2-3 minutes. It's cut it considerably, because you're actually almost traveling from one end of county to the other. So it's been cut down tremendously out that way.
About how many of those are extrications? Do we know on there?
I logged this from the sheriff's report. Basically it just gives the response times. And of course, there's some instances where they're canceled, so I really have no way of tracking it. I think what I'm gonna start doing instead of having to go through this process right here is when they turn in their water reports and their fire reports, document their extrication runs, and then actually which one are extrications and which one are just, get there and the patient's out of the vehicle. That'd be the best way to track it, because that way they could go off their reports. Next page is kind of a breakdown of my budget, is what Commissioner Young requested last month. Kind of gives you an idea of what we're working with. And the yellow highlighted is what we have left. And then, of course, out the side is the percentages of that we've spent. Now, keep in mind, in this budget right here, this covers all the maintenance on the fire trucks, the fuel on the fire trucks, but all of the rescue vehicles are covered under EMS. That was part of the package deal that we worked out with them. We put this program together, but that will give us some data for next year when we start redoing my budget, because it would be a lot easier on finance. We bring all the fire and rescue, everything that comes out of my department under the same budget, because when we build this, it's a rescue truck, EMS pays for the maintenance, the fuel, the tires and stuff. And it's kind of a nightmare for finance to break that down. So next year, all that will be under one umbrella. That way, it kind of takes some of that off of EMS. So the maintenance costs are probably a lot higher on my budget.
Who's paying the insurance on those big vehicles?
On the rescue vehicles, our county insurance is.
Through who, EMS or you?
Well, they're covered under the county. That's all. It's all one umbrella. It's on our fleet. That's the same with those trucks that we have, plus the rescue trucks that Kittrell has and Animals. It's a county vehicle. It's covered under the county insurance.
Whose budget does that fall under, Mayor?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's under the insurance. I think we're paying it under the insurance department itself, but I stand to be corrected, okay? I will confirm that.
Well, next year too, with the county fire department, have to be funded solely through situs tax versus property tax. Is that's the way the state, Mr. Mayor, is that the way the state says it?
No, we haven't made that determination that it has to be funded under situs yet at that point, okay? We still think we're okay with what we're doing at this point in time.
Okay.
But I just wanted you to understand that these costs right here is based just on the fire fleet. It doesn't encompass the rescue, which in next fiscal year it will. And of course, the next sheet is just the consolidated fire call reports, training hours. And then, of course, the water usage too for CUD. We have been having some problems with some of them turning them in late, so that's why there's two sheets. One's amended showing that the ones that did turn them in, but the ones that also turned them in late. And that's, on that document right there is probably Commissioner Young, where I can have it set up on the reports where they can report how many applications they run and how many actual applications they do. They'll have the rescue runs and that, and then break it down into how many applications they actually have.
questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Got a motion to have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Appreciate it. Emergency Management Agency. Tim?
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Let's see, I think it's on the table, right?
Yes, sir. Everybody should have a copy. If you don't, please let me know. I've got an extra one here with me. I'll try my best to read this stuff. I left my reading glasses at the office, so. I'm just going to touch real briefly on outstanding business. You'll see the first item on the sheet is a conference call from the National Weather Service. We've started this implementation from the state with the National Weather Service, a briefing every week on weather events and suspected weather. They're pretty much routine. However, the Office of Emergency Management will be in the habit of forwarding this information to all county agencies when there is pertinent weather information that we need to distribute to you all, give you just an update on any concerns for severe weather potentials that may be occurring or expected to occur in the near future. On down on the 10th of this month, you'll see a hazmat was an explosion response call to 370 South Rutherford Boulevard at Rock 10 Industries in Murfreesboro. We had a deoxygenator unit, 500-gallon unit, that breached containment with explosive power and caused extreme damage to the facility. We had a suspected hazmat event after that. I want to commend the Murfreesboro Fire Department for outstanding work for utilizing all of the safety requirements and doing an entry to assess the damage and also to check for any hazards present. We were lucky to the respect that we didn't have any hazardous materials on site, but everything was managed extremely well, and I'm proud to be a part of that response entity because it was handled extremely well. On the 17th of this month, I also met with the City of Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department to discuss pod planning. I don't know if those of you who have been briefed on what a pod is. I know I've briefed the LEPC. POD is an acronym for Point of Distribution. It is a FEMA-based program set for the establishment of points of distribution for emergency responders to be able to hand off specific commodities for life-sustaining activities for the general public, i.e. if we have a catastrophic event. These are specified pre-planned locations where we set up receiving points from the federal down to the state side, down to the local side, to be able to give those commodities to the general public. Foodstuffs, water, ice, just general commodities that the public can utilize to depend on until infrastructure can be put back into place where they can get those needs fulfilled. So we're in the process of planning for that. Our first pod site in agreement with is Stonecrest Medical Center, which will serve primarily the Laverne Smyrna area. And then I'm looking at 2 sites to initiate what I'm calling Murfreesboro South and Murfreesboro North. Murfreesboro South being an agreement that we're working on towards with Barfield Park to use that location as a pod site to serve that area of the county. And then north, I'm looking at the Miller Arena area off of Compton, because these areas require a vast amount of room and logistics, so it requires specific planning to be able to handle that type of influx, because we could be serving anywhere from 5,000 up to 20,000 people per day, depending on how we set up. So it's a logistical operation. And also attached to the very back, I added this at the last minute because we had this come in late. The county was asked to provide a census data from Atmos Gas to supply them with some information based on their planning requirements for specific exposures to pipeline facilities that go through the county. That activity has taken place and was completed on this date, and it will be forwarded to Atmos as soon as they sign the formal paperwork. And I also wanted to commend Mr. Mike Curtis at GIS for putting in so much hard work at a last-minute effort to get that complete.
I'd like to also, commend it, because I got in touch with Roger. I know a lot of the agencies across the whole county receive that information from Atmos, and there was a better way and a quicker way of doing things, and instead of doing it one by one, and Roger got with Mike Curtis and was able to take care of that.
Exactly, and this data will be instrumental in our planning concerns on down the line, because all this data was inputted into the GIS database, so we'll be able to pull it up on emergencies, and each municipality jurisdiction will be supplied with a copy of this data as well. And that's all I have.
Anybody got any questions for Tim?
I just wanted to ask about the explosion, illegal burn. It's on 11-2 out at Cedar Grove. Is when you say explosion?
Yes, sir. There was a gentleman out there at that address that manufactures biodiesel, and had a miner that belongs to him that was playing with fire, so to speak, and lost control of what he was unauthorized to utilize, and there was a brief explosion. Fire ensued. He was airlifted to Vanderbilt Medical Center with, I think, about 65% second and third degree burns.
Okay. And that part of Cedar Grove must be up near getting near Bradyville Pike or somewhere.
Not far off, yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Let me ask a question, Tim. On the, just want to get clarification here, where it says staff attending the Rutherford County Fire Rescue Department staff meetings at the Rutherford County EOC. Is that someone from your all's office, or?
I would imagine that would be Mr. Allen. I did not attend those meetings, so I can't speak what took place.
Oh, it's okay there, okay.
She takes our minutes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion to approve, to have a second.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Appreciate it, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Wheel tax officer's report. Bart was not able to be here tonight. You've got I got the report here. While I'm passing this out, I'd like for the mayor, Ms. Crowell, and the sheriff. Y'all already got one? Yep. I had this in my box.
She didn't have Ms. Kroll was on the top of the game tonight.
Okay, all right, that'll work. Get y'all to look at that report, and then we got something else under this item we'll look at as well. While y'all are looking over it, and if I could get a motion to approve his report.
I move that we approve the report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I got a motion for the report. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried. If y'all would, you want to come on up? Got the mayor and Lisa Crowell and the sheriff to present something to us.
And we also have,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Ms. Stevenson is not here, but she has sent Elena, since she's been involved in this discussion as well. What we have, let me just, first of all, didn't take enough time, just pass this around. I don't have enough for you, the sheriff and Lisa and Elena have all seen this, so I don't have enough copies for all of you on that, okay? Our clerk, Ms. Kroll, and our sheriff, Mr. Arnold, and Sonia, and Elena, and our wheel tax litter collection officer have had substantial conversation over several weeks now regarding what we're proposing to do here. What you have are two documents here. Basically, they're both entitled Agreement to Transfer the Position. In a simplistic approach, what is being proposed here is that the wheel tax officer position will be transferred into the sheriff's office. And that position will continue to function primarily in a training mode to train and assist and direct all of the patrol officers into performing the duties that's currently being performed by this one person. So you'll have 100 or more, I'm not sure how many it is.
He's doing his job.
Doing this same job, and Mr. Smith will be the person actually training and assisting and guiding and going with them even to show how to make all of this even be more effective. That person, that position will still 2 or 3 days a week come back to the clerk's office and assist with some of those other duties that he's been providing up there to help the clerk. Now, in return for that, the sheriff's office would then be transferring one of these other documents, then would transfer a position, a grade 5 position into the Human Resources Department to assist with those additional duties. This has been discussed earlier, but we didn't have the mechanism to make this happen, and the sheriff has offered this arrangement that we think is a win-win situation for all of the parties involved. So I'll let Ms. Crowell or the sheriff or Elena address it. That sort of summarizes what we proposed to do, and we have all of these folks here that can answer any questions you might have. This would occur as soon as we can, if this is approved by this group, then we would take it forward on. We would actually do a budget amendment to make effective as soon as the commission would approve this, what it would take to swap these monies out and move this position out of the clerk's office to the sheriff's office and move the sheriff's office position into the Human Resources Department. So that's sort of the plan that we're proposing and suggesting and recommended to you, to starting right here with this discussion in this group first.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you doing this because Marsh decided to retire? Is this a cost-saving initiative, or why are we going to this exercise?
Well, Bart has decided to retire, and that is one piece of this that you'll see in one of these documents here, I think, on or before May the 1st.
I saw that.
But in any event, we think it's going to give us a lot broader coverage across the whole county, and think it will improve the process. So that's as important, I guess, as anything else. And this is just an idea that would strengthen what we're trying to do.
Well, the sheriff's department already has the authority to cite people for litter, and I assume they could do the same thing on the wheel tax. If you pulled over and you don't have the wheel tax, your officers
Well, that was
empowered.
actually one thing.
So it's not really changing anything there, right?
They just haven't been doing that, and they're willing now to undertake that additional responsibility.
Well, tell me the upside, why we're wanting to do this, what it's going to save us by doing this.
It's not going to actually save us any money. It's going to allow, the sheriff thinks it's enough benefit to him to have this position down there to train and help and assist so that he can really make this effective. And then it in turn gives a position to our human resources that we don't have a position to do that with, and we'd have to appropriate additional money to do that if we didn't make this exchange. Or if, we may or may not get approved this position that we, and the human resources independent of this, but, that's another whole discussion.
And also, on the HR office, serving on steering, the workload that goes on in that office now, especially since the sheriff and Ms. Crowell have, and maybe some others have actually registered deeds,
Yes,
are now having the HR department, take care of some of their workload, and it's actually increased some things in that department. To me, that's one of the benefits that I see of it, by transferring that person over.
Well, and what he transfers over to the sheriff's department with a training type program going on, because he does intend on retiring, the sheriff is going to designate another wheel tax officer to replace him, so that you'll still have the same things that you have, a direct line to him for wheel tax, a direct line to him for litter control. However, this county is so large, one man to cover it from end to end, patrolling, looking for wheel tax violations, you're going to have a whole sheriff's department that's willing to step up and do it, that they're covering the county. So when they pull them over as far as a registration, they'll enforce the wheel tax violation as well.
I think in the past it's been where there's been a registration violation, and that officer may have cited that person for the registration violation, but they've never been cited for the wheel tax.
Wheel tax.
And but see, the state gets the registration violation, but the county doesn't get the wheel tax until they're cited for the wheel tax.
Exactly.
If the way I understand this, the way it's written, you're going to have an FTO that when a new hire comes on, they'll spend so much time with that sergeant, and that way they learn how to do the wheel tax and the litter stuff, and then that way when they go to a zone car, they can do that as necessary. Gotcha, that's a good idea.
You'll have a certified officer now that can do the job. So, you know, that's one of the big issues is a certified law enforcement officer.
What about the maintenance inspections on the school vehicles like the buses?
Now, that one we hadn't.
Well,
not
actually,
there yet.
every year, Mr. Smith helps with that, and that number is on that report. My opinion is that someone would still need to do that, because on your report, you can see how many violations he found, all wheel tax sticker violations.
That's somebody will have to.
They do the maintenance, they do the school buses, number one, but they also do those buses that the schools use to transport athletes and things, and that's the ones that, you know, that's the ones that bother me, because that's the ones that it's easy to slide and then you get out on one of these country roads, head, you know, to wherever.
Just something happens.
Yeah.
That would be something, naturally, we'll do it if that's what you want done, but losing Bart with that, we'll have to find somebody to send them to training for that. We don't have anybody that, we do have a bus coming online at the sheriff's office. The city of Murfreesboro has given us a bus that we're going to be, turning over into a transport vehicle, but other than that, we've never dealt with any type of buses. So we'll definitely have to get somebody trained for that, or a school board.
I believe, is it not true that someone else from the state or something comes? Bart is there to coordinate that, but he just
I don't know exactly what it
facilitated
is.
this, I believe. I'm not.
I think it is a state inspector that they be certified to inspect the buses, and Bart facilitates that.
Okay. Well, I'm not against this at all, but I would like to see what the process is going to be, next month or something, sometime, just to know, because those little 15, well, they're not that big. They slide, and people, I know we've heard the reports that people have used them before when they shouldn't have been used, and that's what, I won't put it, that's a bad way to put it.
And
Maybe they were used
It
when
may
they shouldn't
be,
have been.
that may need to fall under, which Bart did a good job of it. Bart looked out for the interests of the county, but that may need to fall under the transportation department at the school board.
Well,
Because he's retiring, we're losing that knowledge one way or the other.
Right.
Well, one thing, I just want to make sure that somewhere it's going to be done, and I'd like us all to know where that's going to be.
Yeah. This that we talked about is just more beneficial for the county, of moving him over. We can start training officers to do what he's doing. He can have a certified officer ride with him to do the job. And so therefore, we'll be doing it. Because I'll be honest, in training, whenever I went through training, we saw the state violation. We never trained towards the county violation. I didn't know it till I sat down a couple of weeks ago and talked to Bart. He's like, oh yeah, it's the county violation we should be looking at, not the state violation. It's like, well, we weren't trained that way. We've never been trained that way.
So the bottom line out of this, you're going to be adding a person to HR.
And getting expanded coverage.
And how much is that salary?
That's a level 5, Elena. It's not.
It is. It's an even. Sheriff Robert Arnold is giving us a patrol officer position, and it would be an even trade.
So you're going to lose a position, you're going to refill that, or are we actually adding a head here?
No, I'm going to look. I'm giving them. They're giving me a sergeant's position, and I'm giving them a deputy's position. So I'm getting a sergeant for a deputy.
Yes.
yeah, Bart's a grade 7. This position that
Those
would
are
be
five.
transferred out is a grade 5.
Ms.
But
Cross,
that's,
you said he did other duties at your office. You're not going to be short-staffed, are you, with him?
No, I won't. Right now, he assists with return checks,
Okay.
that type of thing. But after he retires, I'm still open to whoever the new wheel tax officer will be, if they want to still work with us. If not, I've still got staff that can probably handle that. The wheel tax officer, he does come into our office daily right now. They don't have the equipment at the sheriff's department to run those registrations that we have at the county clerk's office. So he comes in there with those tag numbers, like when people call in with tag numbers and that type of thing, to run them to make sure that they haven't came in and renewed or whatever.
Well, you were the only one you were the one losing the position. I just want to make sure you weren't going to be short-staffed over there, so.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm not. But until he retires, I mean, no one's going to know any difference. I mean, it'll be business as usual, other than the other officers will be trained.
Are you
to cover the whole county.
Are you going to try to bring on somebody online to work with Bart before then?
Yes.
Before good deal.
Yeah, we're going to move somebody over, and it's also helping clean up some of this with Bart and his position and stuff like that. That's another reason why we want to do it.
So what are you gonna do about this Colleen? Continue to use her office, or are you gonna be coming back requesting money to update your equipment to do the same thing?
Call in.
What she was just talking about, to check it.
The
see if
return
the wheel
checks.
tax,
We've been working with her. We've sat down, we discussed it, you know. working
Even
together on it.
with the wheel tax officer before Mr. Smith, that is the way it's always worked. Come into the office, and they work with us, because a lot of times people will come to our office and report violations. So, you know, we keep note of that. And just to tell you the truth, I like the presence of an officer in and out of the office.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're losing anybody if that's gonna be the case.
No, it's just a matter of taking it from under the clerks to the sheriffs.
Okay.
That way he can wear our uniform and actually get out there and do some stops and stuff like that.
So in essence, what we're saying is everything's going to break even.
Probably work out.
Yeah.
Well, really and truly, it's actually gonna be more than break even, I think, because you're gonna
We
have,
probably get more county.
you're gonna
With the tax
have more
violations.
officers enforcing the wheel tax. Well, right now, where Bart is only one person, and he can only cover so much territory, there's gonna be more officers out enforcing that.
And right now, he can't make traffic stops.
I thought the legislation changed so he could.
He can't make a traffic, he's not a full-time, he does not work for a full-time law enforcement agency. So he can no longer, that's why he's been taken out of my uniform and, because he can't, by law.
Okay.
But once he goes back to the
Once
sheriff's
he goes
department,
back under us,
He can.
he can't.
It actually puts him in a situation where he can pull someone over and write the ticket and enforce the wheel tax.
Yeah.
right, because as of right now, he sees the tag, he runs it. If they're in violation, he sends them a letter, 30 days to comply. If not, then he has to go through the judge and send out a summons. It's a long process.
Where, once he comes back over to us, he can stop the vehicle right then and there, give them a citation, and go to court.
And what he does when he comes over to you, you make him a sworn officer
Yes,
to be able to do that.
yes.
Will this still function with the schools like it's doing now? What we struggle, with?
That was a question that I was going,
Okay. There's a lot of them there.
Well, and I think what he's talking about is, 2 years ago, we pushed pretty hard to get the schools to, whenever someone registers, to get their wheel tax check, they have to show proof of wheel tax in Rutherford County. And that's where a lot of that stuff right there, where Bart was doing, and the school system.
He was working with the school system.
And Martin did a good job. Yeah.
When I was down at Laverne, he came down there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because there was one particular car he was working on down there that we couldn't do.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that still can cooperate with whoever the person is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, he's still gonna have all, everything that he's doing now, the next person will be
Continue
doing.
on.
But it's just moving him out from under her and putting him under a full-time law enforcement office where he can actually function and do the job.
Right.
And do it more efficient, and also train the other officers into doing the job.
Right. Is there any other questions? If there's no other questions, entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2 agreements.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion to approve the 2 agreements in I think a couple of seconds.
I want it to go to budget because at the same time, concurrent with that, if you approve this, we will have a budget amendment just to move from clerk's office over to their office, this position.
Keep this in there.
All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor?
I'm gonna go ahead and vote for this now, but just let you know, I'm gonna be looking at it a little bit harder and may have a few more questions for you when this gets to the budget, so.
Anybody else? Since it's gonna be going to budget, then, okay. All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Now, should, I don't know if we need a motion. I'd like the request that the mayor look into with the school board or whoever to find out about the maintenance on those buses, that what's going to happen there. So, just so we know that they are being checked, if we can do that. You know, maybe one of their people, just to make sure we get the written work does come through.
Well, we're in motion. Is that okay, Mayor?
I'll take care of it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, drug court report.
Are you gonna do this while the sheriff's here? That's almost done.
You done with this one?
Like, he just left, did you want to do it while he was
I
here?
don't see any problem with it. Do you read it?
Yeah,
Oh.
I just don't like it.
Will you stop, Sheriff? I'm glad you.
They're removing the one?
The phone thing.
Oh.
Becky, that's a good catch.
When you put it in the trash pile, I was a little concerned.
Well, actually, I thought it was, Sheriff, I apologize. Becky made a good catch here. We got a resolution here. Virgil Gammon had contacted me and said something that he said that you knew about the.
Yes, about the service pistol
Right.
with years of service, yes.
Right. And what this is, I know when law enforcement officers will retire, I know the city of Murfreesboro does it, and this is where Virgil had really got the resolution from, and I think the county attorney's office made some different changes on it, but the sheriff's department is asking that they be allowed to give, when an officer retires, to give their service weapon to them and disarm it where it's not, it can't be used, but it's a disarmed, non-operational weapon.
Pull the firing pin on.
Yeah. And that was something that Virgil Gammon had asked, and I guess you're
Yes.
concurring with it.
Oh, yeah, I fully agree. I mean, that's one thing as an officer, when you retire, your shield and your weapon is usually, with a lot of other agencies, it's given to you as a retirement gift for your long years of service. And one thing with the administration change that we've had recently, that's what several people asked, and we did not have anything, we were not allowed to do it for those people that had been there for 30-plus years. And so Virgil and I got together on this and talked about it, and so I asked him to draw it up and get with legal so we could possibly do this for these officers that do give their lives for this county for 30-plus years. I mean, I hope that, we could say, thank you for service, here's your weapon. It's just like this weapon. I've had it since the day it was brand new. I've had, well, not this particular shield, but my other badge,
Right.
I've had it since May 10th of 1999. So, you know, I would like, you know, and so would every other officer like to have
Right.
that when they leave the park.
Well, what is the deal with pulling the firing pin? I mean, we trust these guys to go out in the public.
It's a
with
liability
load.
issue.
Well, if we turning over ownership of this gun and badge to the person, why is it then a liability issue? I mean, to me, it's ridiculous to
It's
pull a
just
firing pin.
It's just a CYA.
What does the city of Murfreesboro do, you know? Do they pull the firing pin?
Yeah, yeah.
They do.
Are you making it where they couldn't put the firing pin back in?
No, they can go take it to a gunsmith and put the firing pin right back in it.
Well, I'd hope most of them be able to do that themselves. I was just concerned that you were destroying the pistol.
No, it's not destroying it. It's just, you know, a liability issue on the county. Okay, we gave you an inoperable
I'm not a
gun.
lawyer, but then what's the difference?
Well,
You can go slip it right
I'm
back
not a
in.
lawyer either. But, you say that, you know, we gave you a weapon that didn't work, and you made it work, I guess. I don't know.
The way this says, it says such badge and weapon may be mounted on an appropriate plaque, so it could be, it doesn't mean it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be done, put in a shadow box and presented.
Okay. Doesn't mean it.
Is there anybody that's going to retire between now and December 16th?
Is it?
Okay. I just saw that date down. And I
No,
didn't.
no.
Well, I think there has been some that have retired, and I think it was how this come about that y'all were wanting to
Yeah,
get.
we've saved several people's weapons and badges and kind of put them over to the side with their name and stuff on. If you approve, then hopefully we can give them their weapons and their
Well,
badge.
The way this reads, I don't think you should be able to, because it says it'll apply to all retirements after December 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to
Well,
amend
then,
that.
yeah,
We need to change that then.
What do they get now?
July 1st?
Just a bye-bye?
yeah, handshake and a smile, see you later.
No, past July 1st, that's a
You wanna make it
fiscal.
Handshake and a smile and see you.
Do what?
We'll make it effective September 1.
So nobody retired.
Yeah. I guess the ones that retired, was it
September 1, yeah.
September 1.
Some of it was, there was a couple then, there was a couple a week later, you know.
September 1st
So
would be a good date.
September 1st of this year would be an awesome date.
At retirements after September 1, 2010. 10, okay. We'll just change the date on there to September.
Is there a specific number of years in that?
20
says 20.
20 years of service.
Okay, just curious. At least 20 years of
Yeah.
service.
The 16th when we have our commission
That's all
meeting,
right.
I guess is why they put it in there.
I guess so.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions? Entertain a motion on the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution with the date change.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Drug court report, let me pass this out here to y'all. She had to go out of town and
Maybe you can answer this question. I received my invitation to the
the conference that they
yes,
got
the
coming up.
conference, and then she had invited us to the graduation ceremony. Do you know if we can attend just the graduation ceremony, or do we have to register for the whole conference?
I don't think you'll have to even register. I think you can show up. But
Okay.
we'll confirm that, okay? It's not until what, February? or-
December.
Is it December?
I think it's the 7th through the 9th.
Okay, we'll make a note to ask her.
I think she had told us that she'd be happy to see us anytime during that time period.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's sort of.
Because it was $75
No, I
or
don't
something.
think you should plan on having to register, just come as her guest.
Well, that's for the whole
If-
conference, that's what she just said. The whole thing. It said what was going on.
Once you get a chance and go through that, if anybody would like to make a motion, I'd appreciate it.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, to have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, juvenile detention. How you doing
Good
tonight?
evening. I have previously passed out the monthly report and contract. This is the report that you're used to seeing. It's for the past month, so it's for October. There's nothing unusual. We billed out on the 1st, so we won't be concerned about getting these monies until after December 1st. We don't expect for there to be any problems, but I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions?
Robertson County is one of our main ones that supplies, if I remember you
Yes.
saying correctly. Okay.
Yes, that's, and many moons ago, we had talked about if a county were to get behind for more than 5,000, we would put a hold on them, but Robertson County does a tremendous amount of business with Rutherford County Juvenile Detention, and that 4,000 is just the bill for that month, and
Okay.
we have no reason to believe we won't get it.
Any questions on the report? Entertain a motion.
Amount of business.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, have a second? And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried, and then you got a Gibson County.
We have the Gibson County that is wanting to do business with us. And we made the update that was requested on the contract with the county executive or mayor. Now, this particular official from Gibson County signed on the wrong line, then they marked through it, and then they signed on the correct one. So that's what you see there.
We're all human.
So, I'll answer any questions about the contract other than that.
It's been through legal and everything's just like everything else.
Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, to have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried. Is that it?
That's it for me.
I got a
Thank you.
question.
All right.
Yes, sir.
How many counties do we do business with now?
At the old facility, we had 21. We don't quite have 21 at the new facility, but the exact number I don't know, but I can get for you.
Anybody else? Thank you. OSHA report. It's on the desk as well.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you. You have the report there in front of you already. In the month of October, we had a total of 23 injuries requiring medical attention, bringing the total up to 176 for the year-to-date, being January 1st through the end of October. Of that 176, 117 of them qualified as OSHA reportable. 44 of them had restricted days, 28 lost days, and 45 all others. On the next page of the report, you'll see the depiction there, the graph. Just if you look through that comparison for last year to this year, we're down 17% as far as claims are concerned. Last year in 2009, we had 214 this time. So that's a decrease of 17%. I would just like to point out that we're going into the holiday seasons. We need to make sure everybody keeps their eye on the ball and not get distracted, because injuries can sneak up on us during the holiday season, especially as you can see what happened in 2008 there in December. Of the total injuries that occurred, the total incurred dollars for the month of October was $25,070. Of that, 17 of the injuries were with the Board of Education for $19,210. The County General had 5 for $5,260. And the Highway Department had the remaining with $600 total incurred dollars. That's all I have on that.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, to have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
All I have, thank you.
Look at that time.
Ambulance service report. And I think y'all moving on now.
Thank you, man.
You doing all right tonight? Doing good. Thank you.
We made 1,799 calls for the month of October. Average response time 7.7 minutes. And there's 33 coroner's calls and 11 autopsies. We billed $1,112,182. Collected $444,814. Our year-to-date collections are $1,900,790. And it puts us on a projected collection of 5.7 million. We had insurance write-offs of $283,612. Collection agency write-offs $110,998, and the county discount $1,545. Station shutdowns are listed for you there. Table at the bottom of the page, we drove a total of 36,289 miles. And we have the cost per mile and operating costs and so forth there. We responded to 437 calls out of zone, which is a pretty big increase over normal.
What's it usually?
It's usually 200. We think we've identified part of the problem. You'll notice there Manchester has made 65 calls out of zone. When we moved the hospital, the Burgess Street ambulance, which is the busiest ambulance we have, now has to travel across town, and so they're out of their zone much more than they used to be. They used to never were out of their zone.
So every time they move, they're just about out of their zone.
The backup ambulance for the Burgess Street zone is Salem and MTSU, and they're both busy ambulances as well. So when all three of those ambulances get kind of tied up on calls, Manchester Road's been having to come in to what we call roadside, which is at the corner of Rutherford and Manchester Road. That's where they respond from.
How many calls of the Burgess Street station, how many calls per month are they doing?
We'll just turn that page. This month they made 276, and they have made as many as over 300 calls, but they're by far the busiest ambulance that we have. MTSU, of course, is in there as well. Salem Road are our busiest ambulance.
Do you ever see a need of maybe making Burgess Street a double?
Yeah, actually, the mayor and I have been having conversations about this because we knew that something was going to happen when we moved the hospital. And we've got some strategies that we're thinking about. We'll have to turn those up.
I'm still winning. I'm still winning on the.
You're going to always win.
I didn't know, we didn't know they had anybody as young as you in that district.
Be nice now, he's watching.
We're looking at the calls broken down to district and
We had a lot of football games this past month too, right?
What do you see as solutions for that Burton zone? I mean, that's our most busiest, and you got.
Yeah, we talked about a double ambulance there, and we've also thought about our support team actually was intended to be able to go into zones that were left vacant. It never has been able to do that very much because it's been so busy filling in for stations that were someone calls in sick or something like that. But, you might think about another support team. And that way they could not only respond in the Bird Street zone, but all the other zones as well. So it would be actually an ambulance without a home, but it would just fill in where.
Is there enough room over there? I know that's a small station. I know you had two over there at one time, but do you?
We had two there at one time, but you're right. As our office kind of expanded, then we kind of took away that option. It would require some moving around.
Yeah, and the new ambulances would. I don't even think they fit in the bay over there, do they?
The water ambulance.
We need to look for something anyways in that area, because that is the.
Also, during the month of October is the month that we moved the hospital. We moved 130 patients or something like that. And I told the mayor we did that utilizing all backup ambulances and mostly salaried people. We did use some hourly people, but most of them were salaried people. And that went very smooth.
We unfortunately had to make a trip to the emergency room this week. It's really nice over there.
It is.
The ambulance entrance there, it's very nice.
It is.
I guess
It's
they're liking that, and the people we work with.
It's become a very popular place quickly.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions for Mike? If there's no questions, I entertain them.
I got one more. I asked Commissioner Farr this, and we didn't know the answer. When y'all go out of county for a dive operation, do we get reimbursed for that like the jail?
Yeah. We don't go unless we're requested by TEMA, and if we're requested by TEMA, then we get paid. We get reimbursed for the time.
Good deal. That's just that we didn't know for sure.
I told him I thought we did, but I wasn't 100% sure.
There is an exception to that. If our sheriff requests us to go into another county looking for evidence or something, then we accompany the sheriff over there, and we don't charge the sheriff for that.
Or do we just wanted to? We didn't have a clue, so we were just wondering that.
And it takes about a year to get that money back in, but eventually we'll get it.
Hey, as long as we're getting it, y'all can go out of county all day long as long as we're getting paid for it.
All right, anybody else? Entertain a motion on his report.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried. Got a budget amendment?
Yes, I do. Pretty large. We have enough money left in our maintenance account probably to get us through this month. Vehicle maintenance account. And it's just been one of those years where we have spent a lot of money. And I'd like to blame it on something, but I really can't. We did have a big expenditure on tires, but that just actually, that's an inventory, so we'll use them before the year's out. So if we'd have bought them one at a time, we'd still spend the same money over the amount of years. So that doesn't make a lot of difference.
Is this the vehicle maintenance with the rescues? That's an extra added cost that you didn't previously budget in your.
Yeah, I did, but in all honesty, that cost for that so far has only been about $5,000.
Okay.
And so that's really not a big part of it either. It's just, the brunt of it is just our ambulances. We spend
Get up there.
we spent 30. Since we got the new ambulances online, it's fallen off some. But so far this year, in the month of July, we spent $24,700. August, $15,700. September, $18,800. And in October, $37,000. Of course, that was a tire bid, $37,512. So it's still 26,000 on maintenance in that one.
Up until these 4 that we got through Christie Houston, how long had it been since we bought an ambulance?
What, 3 years?
I think the first year I was here, we might have bought one in.
Yeah. Well, you know, anytime those ambulances get a little older, and they're not taking out of service, the operational cost is going, the maintenance cost is going to increase, so that's probably a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, it seemed like this summer that if you go down to the shop, we'd have 6 or 7 ambulances down there at any one time. But it's getting better. We've done some things that'll help, I think. We've kind of negotiated some parts prices with the Ford dealer. That'll help a little bit. We've got 4 new ambulances online. That's going to help a lot.
Right.
So,
Would going to a bigger chassis result in any cost savings?
we haven't done it long enough to know.
Like air brakes. I mean, if you're using disc brakes, you're going to burn through them 10 times as fast as if you had air brakes. I mean, with that.
We talked with Lebanon. You know, they did that, and we just couldn't get enough information to say yes or no.
Gotcha. I mean, if we had to pay more on the front end of the county, but it's going to save more on the back end, I don't know how that would, you know.
We'll know more with our sort truck than anything else, because that sort truck has all of it. And so far, so good with it. It's, I think it's got 60-something thousand miles on it now. So it's getting to the point where we'll know something pretty soon.
Right. Anybody else have any questions?
About on this budget amendment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got quite a few. That's 2/3 of your entire budget for the year. Can we not get by with less than that? I even saw the note where you're wanting more, but I mean, you got 122,000 for the year, and you're asking for 80. That's 2/3 of your entire budget.
We just did that based on the history, and you're right. I don't think it'll be as much, but even if I took the tires out and did an average, and that's where we came up with that money.
Well, why do you say we try cutting that in half and seeing what we come up with? I mean, if we need to come back and bring it back, it seems like an astronomical amount.
I'm willing to try that if that's what you'd like to do.
I mean, I don't know how the rest of these guys feel, but that's a pretty
You
large
hate to get the
amount.
chunk and then there.
I mean, we're gonna pay whatever
Right.
maintenance bills we gotta pay, and we're gonna incur them, we'll have to pay them, we don't have any choice there, but it just seems like a lot.
If you'd like to do that, that's fine with me. I don't mind doing it.
How much is in your undesignated fund balance?
I don't know what it is right now. We've actually put quite a bit of money into there, but I can't tell you the number.
And what's you're supposed to be, what percentage of your budget in that?
15%?
No, it's not that high, I don't think.
Well, I don't know what the requirement is. I think we have over $400,000 in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I thought it was down around 10% or something was what it was for theirs, okay.
Well, if we pass this, it'd be 320,000, so. I'll make a motion to use 40,000, just as you come back.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion.
I got a question.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Question.
If we cut this to half, 40,000, and you have a maintenance bill of 42,000 with a vehicle sitting in the shop somewhere, will that vehicle sit there until you have to come back before us?
I think the mayor has the ability to handle emergency situations.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes, we can handle it.
Okay.
Good deal.
All right, any more questions?
I'm seeing a ton of them. So
That'll give us some time too.
Garage,
Even if we have to come back, at least we'll have a firmer handle on it.
No questions, call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Oh, anything else?
Mr. Young contacted me, I guess it was the day after the last public safety committee meeting, and asked me about the fuel situation. And we've got a situation that merits some concern, and I explained to Commissioner Young that the mayor was aware of it, and we have been looking into it, but Essentially, the problem is that we have a 1,500-gallon diesel tank and a 1,500-gallon gasoline tank. Most of our vehicles are diesel. So we've got a lot of vehicles that are fueling out of there, so we're essentially running out of fuel about once a week, at least once a week, and sometimes twice a week. The oil distributor doesn't like it at all because we have such a small tank, and he has to send the truck down there so much. But at the same time, we're reluctant to do anything at the location because it's right there on the river. And if we had a fuel spill, that would be a good situation.
This right here was taken today. This is actually the containment for the gasoline. The diesel containment's pretty good, but you can see the hole right there. That was our concern number 2 of the fuel situation. And then the other thing we had talked about was accountability. Right now, they log their fuel on a sheet of paper and write it down, and that's how the county logs the fuel to know what vehicle and what department gets it. And I know at the Esso, they got a electronic system where they can have a computer printout. I don't know. Those were our 3 big things that we identified.
Can the highway department, I know they've got a pretty good sized facility, and I know they're used to the big trucks going in, back at one of our fire engines and the ambulances and stuff, and the sort truck. Is there something that we can, where the highway department could bill us for the each month for the amount of gallons or gas or diesel we're using?
The mayor has had some conversation with the highway department when we had the fuel shortage, you recall, so I'd rather he answer that question than me.
I've had those conversations, but it's been too long for me to recall exactly what they were. We have, what we really need to do, and we've been unable to find a place to do this, we need to move the whole operation from where we're out there. We don't have enough capacity for fuel, as has been pointed out. I did take some 2 or 3 years ago, I got the prices on what it's going to take just to change out the fuel tanks and the pumps and the electronics, etc. It's about $50,000 just to do that. And I thought we would be able to find a more permanent location where we'd have more space, more maintenance area, more place to locate these solid waste vehicles, and we haven't found a practical way to do that, to be honest with you. I mean, we really need a few acres somewhere centrally located. We have some limited discussions ongoing now with the area near the landfill, but yet, we're away from getting that done. But we need to have a place, a fuel depot and a maintenance area, and that's one of the things I've been unable to accomplish. I will talk again to the highway department to see if they can accommodate us there. I don't know, but it's really, really convenient where we've got the maintenance and everything right there with all of our solid waste trucks are right there. So it is an important discussion point. We just haven't been successful in finding a reasonable solution.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions or comments?
We need to look for something and
I've encouraged everybody that has an interest in this to see if they can find a reasonable location that could be approved for this purpose at a price we can afford, and we have not found one. We're continuing to look.
Let me ask this question. I know the highway department, how much more land do they have over there in addition to what we?
I do not know if they have any. I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if somehow if we had a little extra land over there and we were to build a part over there that would be not the highway department, but it would be like a maintenance shop, and have like a fuel depot or something over there. I don't know. I can't remember how much land we had over there when we done it.
Well, to make the solid waste director and myself, we have discussed this with the Allied Waste people. They are willing to give over to us or swap with us some property to put something out there. We haven't progressed to the point that we have anything that we can propose that's definite.
How much of land is over where the old Rutherford Rescue Squad was at?
Small.
It's small.
Acre, acre plus or minus.
You're not going to get the setbacks for fuel tanks there, I don't believe. Because you're going to, if we put in big tanks, you're going to have.
You're next to no further away from the river either.
Very much.
Just on the other side, that's all.
I'm just trying to think of a place that
We already own.
Yeah. Well, somebody knows of something, throw the idea out.
Maybe we can think of something for next Thursday. That's property management. Maybe we can look for something there.
If we're looking for anything, we may include the sheriff department too.
Yeah.
So they'll repair their vehicles and
Yeah.
maybe larger tanks too. I think they have issues about that also.
Things like that are logistics problems that we've got because we're so widespread as far as departments. And I know a lot of times when y'all run out, it's usually on the weekend, and you gotta have a fire engine or a rescue truck or an ambulance. They gotta have the diesel. So I guess y'all go to,
We use fuel man cars, but that's not cost effective. It's a little bit better than buying at retail, but
Right.
it's not what we can buy for as a county government.
well, how often do we have to use the fuel man cars? Is it quite often?
Recently it's been, because as you said, we've been running out about once a week, and most of the time it's on the weekend.
Well,
We did run out of gas one day last week in the middle of the week.
And from what I understand, they're filling up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So,
But if all the solid waste trucks happen to hit empty on Friday, then it's gone.
Yeah.
Because it's just 1,500 gallons.
Yeah. And all of them can use that 1,500 gallons up pretty quick.
Yeah. So they always probably refuel on Friday because they're down, well, they're working.
They work hard on the weekend. Those trucks-
They do on Thursday too, to get everything ready to come in for the weekend.
Well, if anybody think of something? All right. Appreciate it. Paul's report. I think it's on your desk as well. How you doing?
Good, you, sir?
Doing good.
This is our October report. Coming into that slow part of the year, our intake was down by a little over 100, down to 640. Adoptions were 136 for October. Number of animals euthanized 418. In September, we were at 545 on that number. So with the intake going down, adoptions up a little bit, causes that other number, the euthanasia number, to go down. The adoption reclaim rate for October was 28%. That was up from 22% in September. And euthanasia rate is 62%. Number of calls received was 1362. Calls completed 1364. Total mileage they're providing for the officers for the month of October. And on the fiscal to date, our intake is at 3,200, I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Adoptions are at 579, number euthanized 2,210, reclaimed by owners 168, total out 3,254. For the year to date, adoption reclaim rate's at 23%, and euthanasia rate is 68%. Had 9,321 people visit the shelter since July 1st looking for a lost or new pet. Number of calls, requests for service since July 1st, 5,530. Calls completed due carryover, 5,573. Next page is the bites and other rabies exposure. For October, we had a total of 46 bites reported. 15 of those animals were tested. One came back unsatisfactory, which counts as a positive. And that was a dog that had been hit by a car and was injured, bit the owner, and the owner, to put it out of its misery, went ahead and shot it in the head, which made it impossible for us to get a satisfactory result on that test. Other rabies exposure, we had one reported and tested, no positive. Our to-date, year-to-date totals since January 1st, 339 bites reported, 117 tested, 3 positives. Those positives on that were all unsatisfactory due to head trauma or decomp. On the other exposure, 54 reported, 50 tested, and 8 positive.
I got a question. Well, it's just on the report, but you go ahead and get some questions on the report. Any questions on her report? Can I take a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do you have a second?
A second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I don't know where it was at, but I read an article. I just want to make sure that we don't have this problem one day. There was an animal or dog that come back from Iraq or Afghanistan and was euthanized. And somehow the dog was a hero over in Iraq or whatever and come back and didn't make it here. And I don't remember what city it was or whatever. Hopefully we have things in place where such a would not happen here.
We would hope not. We do have procedures in place to prevent that. The place you're talking about, I believe it was in Arizona or something.
Was it? I don't remember.
They have procedures in place too. I mean, there's always a chance for
somebody just made a mistake.
But we do have procedures in place to try to prevent that.
Okay.
You just saying they put down the wrong dog?
Yeah, they pulled the wrong dog from a kennel and it was euthanized.
Survived over there and come back here and not
Picked up
survive.
running loose, not tagged, not microchipped, no identification on it. At the shelter Friday, and I think they accidentally pulled the wrong dog on Monday.
Just a thought, reading a news article.
Not something we ever want to happen.
Right. All right.
What's your minimum age for volunteers?
We have some young volunteers. Parents are required to be with them when they come in and do their time. We have an orientation they go through. Depends on how much time that the parent has to come in, what they're wanting to do. I mean, we have some that come in just to bathe puppies or to walk the dogs. We have some volunteers that just come in to help with general housekeeping, greeting people and helping them in our adoption kennels. So without a parent, we like them to be closer to the 18 age, but the parents are required to come with them if they're under 18, at least in the beginning, until we can see how responsible they're going to be and how they're going to handle everything there.
If there's no other questions, I think you've got a budget amendment.
Yes, sir. This is to move some money from our donations into our custodial supplies, $2,000 into custodial and $3,000 into other supplies and materials. That's all of our donation line.
Y'all heard her request. Is there a motion?
These were all contributions sent to you.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, motion and second on the floor, discussion. Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Okay.
When you get through.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Your motion to approve the minutes at the beginning of the meeting, did that include the special call to meeting?
Okay.
Yes.
You did? Okay.
Okay,
All right.
good.
That's two good catches she's made today.
I'm going home now.
All right, is there any other business come before the committee? Hearing, I know a lot of the, was it youth leadership, Rutherford? Appreciate y'all coming tonight. Hope we've got something out of the meeting. Appreciate y'all being here. If there's no other business, we'll stand adjourned. Thank y'all. Do y'all need somebody?